This past week, we had quite a variety of Christmas movies to choose from on Hallmark Channel and Great American Family. Everything from classic royalty to modern college graduates, and even a couple of mysteries thrown in there for fun. But how about the Christmas romances? Was there magic in any of them? Well, as usual, this is what I love to talk about, so let's dive right in and get to it. Hi, I'm Stephanie, and this is the Magical Movie Club. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I love talking about Hallmark and Great American Family movies, and Christmas is my favorite time of year. Today I'll be talking about 4 new ones, starting with The Christmas Charade, starring Rachel Skarsten, and Corey Sevier, who's in one of my favorites, Take Me Back for Christmas, both stars in and directs this one. The Christmas Charade opens with a mysterious woman, one who is obviously trying to remain incognito with her sunglasses on and a scarf around her head, carrying a box down a large corridor at Christmas time. By the way, I love that they got Kristen Booth and Jefferson Brown to make cameo appearances in these opening scenes.
The naughty list.
Santa always delivers.
And how about the opening music? This is so classic 1940s American film noir. But then we see a TV screen emerge. Yeah, and Whitney, Rachel Skarsten's character, is watching intently, eating her bowl of Fruit Loops.
Okay, let's go.
This is obviously one of her favorite movies as she's reciting the dialogue. Until the sound of an alarm on her phone breaks her out of her spell and she's back to reality. Well, work for her is being an elementary school librarian.
Where he stayed safe inside forever.
And a safety nerd at that.
And remember, if you have Christmas trees at home, no incandescent lights.
So Rachel, her friend and co-worker here, is getting married, and as in almost all Hallmark Christmas movies, she gets on Whitney about her lack of a dating life and encourages her to go on a blind date.
How about meeting a friend of a friend then?
Reluctantly, Whitney agrees to take his email and at least think about it. After all, it's Christmas break now. Later that evening, we meet her parents over at her apartment.
Merry Christmas.
Apparently, they owned a home security business for years. And one thing they're not comfortable with is change. At all.
What's wrong with game night?
Nothing. Nothing is wrong with game night.
You might not think that that's all that significant, but believe me, it comes up later. So after a little bit of nagging from even her parents about her non-existent dating life, Whitney sends an email to that address that Rachel gave her. Next, it's a change of scenery a bit as we hop over to a Christmas party happening at the office of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the FBI. This is where we meet Josh.
I don't really do Christmas or small talk.
Oh, we've noticed.
He's a no-nonsense agent who's been working undercover for the last 6 months, and so far has nothing to show for it.
I'm shutting you down.
What?
So he's trying to convince his boss to let him finish what he started because he believes he's getting close to that big break.
They call it the heart of Christmas. It's supposed to be worth over $10 million.
This elaborate necklace only comes out once a year on Christmas Eve, and this year it's being displayed at an event called the Mistletoe Ball.
Guess who's on the board? Lou Bateman's wife, Patty.
Josh believes this couple is going to try to steal that piece, and he's adamant that he'll be able to prove it and prevent it from happening on Christmas Eve. Well, his boss finally consents to giving him one last chance, but he pairs him up with another agent.
I'm sending in Agent Kira Tanner to join you as your girlfriend.
So where this is all leading up to is 2 events are going to be occurring at the same restaurant on the same night. Whitney's blind date with the cat guy.
Sounds good. Villamici 1. I'll be wearing a green sweater.
Okay.
And Josh is meeting with the alleged jewelry thieves along with his date with the new agent. Do you see where this is all going? The real agent is running late, and Whitney sees Josh first in the green sweater when she arrives at the restaurant.
Hi.
You're late.
Now, why she even stays after that is questionable, but obviously we wouldn't have a movie if she hadn't. The dialogue was pretty clever at the table when they didn't recognize each other's names or any of the circumstances that led to their meeting.
How do we meet?
Well, we're currently meeting.
Even so, just when we thought Whitney had had enough and was about to leave,
I'm sorry, this isn't really my cup of tea, Mark.
No, it's not Mark.
guess who arrives to join them?
Lou, Patty, me, Whitney, my girlfriend.
After a heated discussion over by the restrooms,
Girlfriend? Really? We just met.
Josh realizes Whitney's not the agent he was supposed to meet.
I was expecting a female agent who was supposed to play my girlfriend, but you sat down instead.
But he also convinces her that she kind of needs to see this through now and go along with him for the rest of the evening.
With me, pretend to be my girlfriend, and when the meal's over, I will find a way to get you out safely.
And in case you're wondering, Josh finally saw the real agent show up and he signaled for her to leave. And as for the blind date, well...
Oh no.
Poor guy got stood up. So how did they go from it's 1 hour of your life to an entire movie working together on this case?
I just babble when I'm nervous.
Why are you nervous?
Well, this was a little bit of a stretch, but the wife of the suspected jewelry thief offered Whitney a job to help her organize the very event in which that one-of-a-kind necklace will be on display.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yay, Whitney! We're gonna have so much fun.
Well, now she's not only in deep, but the two of them have to explain it to Josh's boss back at the FBI. And he's okay with it.
All she'd have to do is plan the mistletoe ball with the suspect's wife.
That seemed like a bit of another stretch for me.
Agent Dawson will send you the case file. You two can meet up first thing tomorrow.
You know, to hand over an FBI case file to a complete stranger with no training or background checks, but okay, what do I know? Again, we wouldn't have much of a movie if she just went home and that was it. So there you have it, the premise of the rest of the movie.
So you were aware of the mission parameters?
Save a priceless necklace from a life on the black market.
There were some entertaining moments. Josh has to train
You
her,
need to be able to send a text message from your phone in your pocket without anyone knowing.
and they have to continue to pretend to be a couple.
Well, we got the bickering down.
The ending may have been a bit over the top for me, what with the parents' big secret, and I personally didn't feel any chemistry between these two. But I still enjoyed this one for other reasons, like Mrs. Claus, the jeweler who helped them with creating a replica of the necklace,
Merry Christmas! Would you care for some peppermint bark?
and there were some fun pop culture references too.
Sure. Come work with the FBI. Plan a party. It'll be fine.
And yes, in the end, they do save the real necklace together. All in all, it was lighthearted fun if you don't take it very seriously. Like these security guards who were too busy eating Christmas cookies to pay any attention to an alarm going off, or to even manage to turn around and look at the very necklace that they're supposed to be guarding. For me, it's a 3 out of 5. It's not exactly a Christmas love story, but if you're in the mood for a quirky, fun mystery set during Christmas time, you'll probably enjoy it, and maybe more than I did. Now, really quick before we get to Operation Nutcracker, I won't be spending much time on these, but I'll at least tell you my initial reactions to 2 other movies from last weekend. Great American Family aired A Christmas Castle Proposal with Rhiannon Fish. It was apparently a sequel to last year's A Royal in Paradise. Now, it's hard for me to give too much of a critique on this one because I never saw the original, but I did watch this one, and take it for what it's worth, but I found it gloomy and depressing. Clearly, the 2 main characters met and fell in love in the first movie, and this one continues their story with Olivia, Rhiannon Fish's character, and her parents going to meet the prince's mother, the queen, at their holiday palace to spend Christmas together.
Olivia, it's wonderful to see you.
Your Majesty?
And she and her whiny mother spent way too much time complaining about everything.
They're certainly very formal, aren't they?
But you're expecting him to be laid back?
For example, they were guests in this lavish royal home, and Olivia's mother couldn't believe that they weren't allowed to decorate one of their Christmas trees.
But I did make a point in mentioning that it was a Perkins tradition to decorate the tree.
And Alexander, the prince, was too busy with his foundation to help Olivia understand what to expect if she should become part of the royal family.
Did Alexander not explain any of this to you?
It must have slipped his mind.
So Olivia was miserable the whole movie.
Do you really know for sure that they'll always be there for you?
Although I still can't believe she was surprised by any of it. I mean, who doesn't understand that if you choose to become part of a royal family, that you're going to be expected to carry on some royal traditions and responsibilities?
The kind of role you'll be expected to play on the night.
I'm sorry, roll?
But everyone was happy again at the end when Prince Alexander turned over the foundation to his best friend.
I think we can make that happen.
Wonderful.
And I think they all lived happily ever after. No idea if they have plans to make a third installment. If they do, it can only get better from here. Because I'm sorry, this was just one of the dreariest royal movies I've ever seen. And I love a good royal movie.
If it's a princess, you always curtsy.
Hallmark also released The 5-Year Christmas Party. And the best way I can describe it is to compare it to Jerry Seinfeld. It's a Christmas movie about absolutely nothing. But seriously, Kate Finley and Jordan Fisher play two young college theater grads who meet once a year at Christmas time.
This is not the most I've spoken to you.
Max, it absolutely is the most,
And slowly become acquaintances and then friends.
Are we friends now? Did we make it?
And then fall in love. It had a couple of moments that made me smile, like the Friends reference here when they were carrying a big Christmas tree around a corner.
Does it feel like that to you?
You said you could do it like pivot.
Or all the other Christmas movie references she made. And even Ashley Williams' name specifically comes up more than once.
You'll never guess who's my sister.
No. Is it Ashley Williams? What are you talking about?
Spoiler alert. No, she does not make any cameo appearances that I saw. I was a little disappointed by that. But Hallmark also makes a point of throwing in a couple of political statements in this one, and I was not happy about that. My take is our lives are full of politics all day, every day. I turn on Hallmark movies to escape and de-stress from it all. So now let's talk about Operation Nutcracker, starring Christopher Russell and Ashley Newbrough. It originally premiered on Hallmark Movies Now during Christmas in July, but that was only for their paid subscribers. They finally aired it on Hallmark Channel on October 25th. Overall, I enjoyed this one, even though there were a couple of incidents involving the actual Nutcracker that personally I wish had been written a little differently. The movie opens at what appears to be a luxury hotel where everyone is busy preparing for a big holiday event. Lottie, Ashley Newbrough's character, is the event planner, and she tends to be a bit clumsy, as we see here when she turns around without paying any attention to her surroundings and bumps into someone.
Oh, sorry. That was a close one.
Normally I'd be saying, oh no, here we go again, because I usually don't care for that, but it wasn't too overdone, other than the fact that next she's walking backwards talking on the phone, so we'll continue. Her boss shows up to ooh and ah over her winter wonderland that she's created here, and she has a new proposal for her next job.
The Warby family is looking for someone to take over their annual Christmas charity auction.
She also explains that the Warby family is flying in a rare Nutcracker figurine to raise money to expand a pediatric hospital. And Lottie gets very excited about it until...
I'm picturing a mountain of sugar plums, a corridor of tiny soldiers.
Her boss tells her that she needs to present her own pitch in person to Mrs. Warby, who, by the way, is very meticulous and even just fired their last event planner. So no, she doesn't have the job yet, and Lottie is not used to being the one to pitch her own ideas.
Lottie, do not let your nerves get in the way.
So with some persuasion, Lottie flies home to Boston to meet Mrs. Warby and maybe even try to reconnect with her dad. Next, we change scenes over to Tristan, Christopher Russell's character. He's on the phone with his sister, explaining why he's at a layover in Chicago when he was supposed to have landed in Boston an hour ago.
So I gave up my seat.
Why?
This really nice lady was trying to get home to her son for Christmas, so...
And while he's telling her all this, he's opening his luggage to reveal a delicately wrapped, fancy Nutcracker. This happens to be the one that's going to be auctioned off, so he needs to be very careful with it. Next, we see Lottie walk up next to him. You probably already know where this is going. As a matter of fact, so does Tristan.
That was a close one.
Classic bag swap.
Just like in a rom-com.
They continue their conversation, and Lottie winds up telling him all about the interview that she's going to have for the charity auction.
Oh, I'm interviewing to be the event planner for the Warby Christmas Charity Foundation.
You don't say.
Apparently.
Of course, you don't think Tristan tells her who he is yet now, do you? Well, by the time they land in Boston and pick up their bags from the carousel, it turns out there are 3 bags on that flight that all look exactly alike. And since Tristan's luggage tag popped off while he was still in Chicago, it's pretty easy for this unknown player number 3 to walk off with his bag. Tristan doesn't realize it though. When he finds the wrong bag, he just assumes Lottie took it by mistake.
Gosh, thank you so much. You have to stop meet-cuting this way.
He doesn't know it yet, but she actually had the mystery guy's bag, which now Tristan has. And no, he still hasn't told her who he is.
I have a feeling we'll be seeing each other sooner than we think.
Which, by the way, is the son of Mrs. Warby.
But the beard, it's gonna go before the night of the auction, yes?
Don't worry, she finds out soon enough.
You must be Lottie Morgan of Lexington Events?
Well, as you can imagine, Lottie gives her pitch to his mother and gets the job of planning this event.
To me, the Nutcracker symbolizes hope and resilience.
But it's what happens next that sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Can I see it?
See what?
This infamous Nutcracker.
Now, before we get there, I just have to add that this is one of those moments I hinted at earlier. I find it a little difficult to believe that he was super careful with the Nutcracker at the airport in Chicago, but now that he's home, and he has been home since yesterday, he hasn't opened his bag even once to make sure it's still okay and in one piece.
So, if you don't mind, I'll be the one handling it.
After all, he was not happy that he had to check his bag in the first place. But let's continue, because the look on their faces when he opens the bag is pretty funny.
Huh. Well, that's not really what I was picturing.
And now they need to figure out who could possibly have his bag.
My mother's going to disown me.
Now, have you ever noticed how sometimes Hallmark movies revolve around secrets? Yeah, this one's no different.
I'm sure she'll understand.
Oh, she can't find out.
And somehow, Tristan talks Lottie into going along with him.
I'm just on my way out.
So, as you imagine, he comes up with a lot of different excuses to not show it to her.
I would really love to see this precious Nutcracker.
Oh.
And for most of the movie, they pull it off while they continue to both plan the event and search for the Nutcracker. Because without it, there is no fundraiser.
Someone did. We know his name's Dave, and he's a dad.
So, after looking through this mystery guy's suitcase for clues, they find a photo of this Dave person with his daughter, and conveniently, along with his agenda.
Where he'll be every day this week. We can just track him down.
It'll be like a scavenger hunt.
Lottie gets pretty excited, but the clock is ticking. Can they find him in time?
Dad, the reindeer need to go at the top, like they're flying.
As you can see, Dave's daughter is a ballerina. Apropos for a movie about a nutcracker, don't you think? And his wife informs him she'll be working a booth at the Christmas market this year.
Oh, Pam, that's amazing.
Which means I'm gonna have my hands full the next few days.
And he tells her about the doll that he brought home for their daughter, Joey.
Now I better go wrap it before she finds it.
Now, do all men let their luggage sit unopened for days like this? I know, sometimes I need to let these details go because, like I've said in other videos, we wouldn't have much of a movie if he had. Speaking of the rest of the movie, Lottie writes out this full itinerary of Christmas fun and activities where they'll go in search of Dave.
The Christmas market, then Santa's workshop, followed by Millie's bakery.
Well, let me just say that there are a lot of near misses and crazy coincidences. Some might think there were too many to be believable, like how many times they were all at the Christmas market together, even talking to his wife.
You have a website?
I do. Just right here.
Right in front of me.
And they never crossed paths or found any leads? Granted, there was that terribly grumpy woman in line who cut their conversation short.
I was wondering if you have seen...
But he could have gone back and continued. Or how about the fact that they found another Nutcracker identical to the original missing one at the Christmas market?
This looks just like the real one.
Or this near miss right here.
I can't wait to see all of Mommy's flowers.
Now, there is one more detail I have to address. I'm sorry, I just can't let this one go. And that is how Dave handles the Nutcracker. Now, I know he doesn't know the value of this Nutcracker, but this is a pretty big but. He finds it in someone else's suitcase by mistake and gives it to his daughter.
With your very own Nutcracker, you can be Clara right here.
Isn't that stealing? It's not like she found it and mistakenly thought it was for her and he couldn't break her heart. He actually grabbed it out of Tristan's suitcase and thought it was okay to give it to her. I have to be honest, I struggled with this a bit. Well, if you can get past this and all of these uncanny coincidences and mishaps, the movie actually has a rather beautiful ending where the meaning of the story really becomes all about this little girl and making her Christmas wish come true.
And if you're feeling better, we might have a way to make it up to you.
As you can imagine, the auction was spectacular.
That we've managed to secure an anonymous bid on Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker so substantial.
And Lottie and Tristan developed a nice romance. The chemistry wasn't over the top, but seeing them together felt very natural.
Isn't it obvious?
And how about this guy who had the winning bid on the Nutcracker?
That guy.
Because I love how it all ended and how they embraced the actual Nutcracker ballet in this one, I'll give it a 3.5. Ultimately, these things outweighed all my other grievances early on. So before I end this one, I thought I would talk for a moment about what it is I look for in a good Hallmark or Great American Christmas movie. You know, what is it that makes a 5-star movie for me? It's not always the same thing, but I do weigh more heavily on the ones that give me goosebumps or make me choke up a little bit. And sometimes that's the quality of the acting, and sometimes it's the story itself. I also really appreciate the ones that show us some meaningful character growth. For example, I love those situations where something really awful or catastrophic or other unforeseen event takes place early on, and what happens next is completely life-changing for the better, especially when two people who would never have crossed paths if not for that particular circumstance, and they grow together and fall so deeply in love that, well, that is truly magical to me. Earlier this year, I started a countdown to my all-time favorite Hallmark Christmas movies, and I know it's been a while, but I am working very hard to continue with those. I promise I'll keep you posted, and I cannot wait to share the rest of my favorites with you. Next week, we'll be talking about A Carol for Two, starring Gina Claire Mason, whom you might remember from A Holiday Spectacular. There's also Our Holiday Story with one of my personal favorites, Nikki DeLoach, and Holiday Mismatch, which I have no idea what to expect from. I haven't been too impressed by the Sunday night movies yet, but maybe this will be the one. Oh, and Great American has a new movie as well called Tales of Christmas. Sadly, the first movie that comes to my mind when I see that is Everything Puppies. I can only hope that this is significantly better than that one. We'll find out together next week. Until then, and as always, thank you so much for being a part of the Magical Movie Club. If you like this too and want to see more, please let me know by hitting the like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, as usual, I'll include links to the preview videos and movie pages below if you're interested in seeing more about the movies we talked about today. I look forward to being back here next week to chat more about our favorite magical Christmas movies.